This film is about the psychology of scriptwriting. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah, well, it's not quite like that. But let's think about it, because since the invention of writing in Sumeria, like certain people, they've been compelled to sit and usually alone in a room or even a hut like this and fabricate and record their stories. Why? Why are they doing that? Are they crazy? I'm going to examine a few psychological explanations for why an apparently rational person, I mean apparently rational, like this person here, apparently rational, why that person might, or you, might be compelled to undertake the arduous and really the mostly, it's thankless, the task of writing a script. The autistic fantasy theory. What the hell is that? An autistic fantasy, it's defined as a withdrawal into excessive daydreaming. Rather than going into the world and taking proactive action. And here, the daydream, it's another term for the unconscious. Woo, woo, back to that again. Yeah, well, script writing, it'd be the act of recording the daydream, or the unconscious, in words. See there? Daydreaming in words. A person who often feels distressed and anxious in the real world, well, they may retreat into their autistic fantasy inner terrain. And this is their escape hatch. Yeah, like that. Here, a person, the king of the castle, and they're master of all they survey, which really is often not the case in the outside world. As you well know, I don't have to tell you that. No doubt it's not the case in the outside world for you. Are you king of the castle? No, probably not. Anyway, disappearing into an autistic fantasy, it's known to provide relief from external stress factors. And look, rather than face true challenges, a scriptwriter, he chooses to dream about a happy outcome. Often, like we hear scriptwriters describing autistic fantasy in this particular way. I have to get into the zone. My characters have taken over the script. I can only write after a scotch or a magic mushroom. You know, everyone knows alcohol and drugs, well, they're well documented in their ability to alter inner psychic states. A well-known case of extreme autistic fantasy writing, it's the writer and playwright Virginia Woolf. Like, she wrote the book Orlando, and that was a basis for this film here, Orlando, by Sally Potter. But I'm digressing here, because Woolf's stream of consciousness writing style, it can be explained by an autistic fantasy state. Whether, you know, that can be blamed for her eventual suicide remains a point of conjecture. Now, if we say that there are two types of people in this world, the hunters who are proactive and the gatherers who are relatively passive, though you can gather actively, I assume. But anyway, let's just do that. Let's do proactive hunters and passive gatherers. Then a scriptwriter lives the life of a safe passive gatherer, but he possesses the dangerous inner terrain of the active hunter. And this is enacted in his or her autistic fantasy, which is then translated into their script. The narcissistic theory. Now, Narcissus, he was a handsome fellow who fell in love with his own reflection. Unfortunately, it ended badly. It could be said that scriptwriters, they're those people who fall in love with their own thoughts. And the process of recording those thoughts, well, that's scriptwriting. And this explains the intense anger that's often experienced by scriptwriters when their work is rejected or altered. Yeah, if scriptwriters, they love their own ideas, then rejection of those ideas, well, I mean, it leads to a personal sense of feeling unloved. And let me tell you, very few things make a person more furious than their love when it's scorned. Look, the act of scriptwriting itself, well, it indicates that a person, they believe their thoughts are unique and worth noting. Look at this person here, he really thinks that. That belief of specialness, well, it's a classic narcissistic trait. Look at him, look at this, look at her. Ha! I mean, after all, every human being, they've got many thoughts. You've got many thoughts, millions of thoughts, but only some believe that those thoughts, they're extraordinary and they possess great value as the basis of a script. Yeah, do you believe that? Yeah, I reckon you might. Look, when the world conspires to counter a scriptwriter's belief system, or when the script, it's not chosen, or it's changed vastly by a director, or even when it's not recognized to be as special as the scriptwriter, him or herself, that they believe, then cognitive dissonance in the scriptwriter creates great inner psychic pain. Okay, so what's cognitive dissonance? You know, like for instance, if you say, my script's special, yet they rejected it. Okay, so there's a conflict there. Usually then the scriptwriter, to soothe himself or herself, they must rationalize why their script was rejected. Otherwise, the scriptwriter faces much psychic turmoil and pain, and perhaps that horrible knowledge that maybe their thoughts aren't special and lovable after all. Blah. That's too horrible a thought for most script writers. So script writers, they often utilize phrases like these ones that I'm going to tell you to save themselves from great psychic pain and to protect themselves from the need to question the sense of their own specialness. Those executives are idiots. You heard them say that a lot. No one knows how to read a script. Look at the crap they chose instead of mine. Yeah. Often, the scriptwriter's narcissism, it leads him to feel much schadenfreude when another film bombs at the box office. Schadenfreude is when you take joy in other people's misery. Yeah, you know that? I bet you do. Anyway, schadenfreude, it helps scriptwriters maintain their inner narcissistic premise, the one that says their script, had it been selected, would have made a very highly successful film. Average life, most people, they have a very constricted time. Very rarely is a person satisfied with as much sex and food and money and fun as the person desires. Like you, for instance. You have as much fun as you desire? Anyway, mostly society and health issues and people nagging you, they enforce humans to lead somewhat disgruntled lives. Because the alternative, if you don't, is if everyone did exactly what their hearts desired and they damned the consequences, well, it'd be anarchy and chaos, plus perhaps obesity and death and venereal disease, things that aren't very good. Anyway, that thing inside us all, the thing in our unconscious that wants to be free, right? The one regardless of the outcome, that's what Freud named the id. And it wants to play, everybody. It wants to play. Now, seemingly, like scriptwriters, they've discovered a method to let their id run free. Now, in a script, they can allow their characters to indulge in any taboo behavior, and with impunity to boot. Freud, he said that every person in your dreams is you. See this person having a dream, see this dream? Well, that's them. They're dreaming that. Okay, they don't really look like that, but they're dreaming that they are. And so logically, every character in a script that the scriptwriter writes is a facet of the scriptwriter. And when the characters, they have sex and they kill and they generally do whatever they want, well, it's this scriptwriter's id at work and having a ball. Now, often you're going to meet a scriptwriter and they're going to be bespectacled and all timid, like here. Then you read their script and whoa, you're going to be astonished at what the scriptwriter they've written. You've probably heard these comments now said about certain scripts. I couldn't continue reading it after the protagonist ate his cat. The fact that your protagonist does that with his mother makes him very unlikable. I had to look up coprophilia in the dictionary. Yeah, look, unchecked by the superego, that's the disciplinarian part of the unconscious. You know, the superego, the one that tells you what to do. Well, without the superego, the id, it can truly run free. And occasionally, some scriptwriters, they fall prey to their unencumbered id, and it ruins their script. Look, an example of this is the writer of Basic Instinct, this film here, yeah. By the time Esterhaus wrote Showgirls, which is a famously bad film, his id had truly and uncontrollably, it had run amok, gone crazy. Machiavelli. I like saying that. I'm going to say it again. Machiavelli. Tortellini. Cannelloni. That's enough playing Italian here. Okay, Machiavelli, he postulated that man's quest is for power. He said that no one's more miserable than a disempowered man. I bet you guys know that feeling. Well, ironically, he wrote his thesis, he wrote it as a book, and it's called The Prince. And when he presented it, and he was hoping to impress his Medici rulers, and he wanted to reap glory and status and everything, but the Medici rulers, they hated it, and they banished Machiavelli back to his disempowered state. In his head, the scriptwriter, he or she has endless power. The scriptwriter is like more powerful than Superman, and maybe even as omniscient as a god. So the seduction of infinite power, it could be a valid reason alone to write a script, guys. Now, let's say this. Let's say your job's a janitor during the day, you're picking up office workers, like they discarded their used tissues and their dropped apple cores, and you're scrubbing toilet pans, and you're facing mysterious indelible stains on white towels all day long. At night, your characters, and they're a facet of yourself, well, they got the power to fly and rescue the needy and fall in love, all in your script. And your abilities, they're only limited by your imagination. But where does your imagination go? I don't want to know that. Anyway, but you're empowered. That is until you have to sell the script. And in that case, you have to crash to earth with a giant thud, usually. Well, that's another story. I'm not going into that here. Anyway, immortality, that's another aspect of empowerment. The gods, well, they're immortal. Hello, Zeus. But humans, well, humans are not. A film can be everlasting, especially a classic. So, like this one here, that's a classic. So the drive to write a wondrous script, it appears a way to cheat even death. And that's pretty powerful, let's face it. Often you hear would-be scriptwriters say this: I'm going to write a script about my life. It's more interesting than anything you see on the screen these days. Apart from being narcissistic, of course, that sort of person desires empowerment in their lives. They want the ability to control the uncontrollable aspects that are all around them. Like you must have millions of aspects that are uncontrollable around you. Look to your left, look to your right. Yeah. Anyway, you know, at the end of the day, I can't help but think of the tale of Faust. And Faust is a doctor who he gave his soul for empowerment and immortality. But sadly, like, it didn't turn out well, did it? In conclusion, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say that the scriptwriter, and then maybe that's you, is a complex and a complicated psychological creature. And often you're damaged, but you're compelled to do your best to repair your inner wound. I wish the scriptwriter luck and courage, and also maybe the avoidance of neurosis and psychosis. And of course, I wish the scriptwriter the occasional brilliant script. Ha ha!